Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We've got the first tips and Tiddybits of April. All right, we made it through March. I'm stoked. I got a month under my belt of these, and I'm aiming for another month. So hopefully you stick with me through them, and please remember to always leave your feedback if these are helpful. If you're just scanning right by them, if you want a certain kind of tip or Tiddybit, because, per usual, flying by the seat of my pants. Coming up with things that I think are relevant to the season, things that are impacting my life. But this podcast, as much as it does for me, isn't just for me, right? It's for you. So I want to give you what you want. So let me know what that is, how I can help, and how these segments can help. Today, we are going to talk about a little spring refresh. So we talked about spring training, like kind of getting yourself in shape, ready for getting outdoors more, because a lot of us during the winter are not really doing our normal activities, outdoor activities as much, and maybe even just normal activities as much. So now we're going to talk about getting our gear ready for it as we start to amp up maybe some training inside or out of the gym, whatever it is. We want to start digging out our spring gear and making that gear swap, or just having basically like an audit of our gear. So again, as I'm recording something very springy, it's dumping here in Tahoe, but that's quite normal. And I'm sure for a lot of you listeners out there too, it's definitely not full-fledged spring yet, even though the calendar says it, right? But still, I think a lot of us can start to put away most of the winter gear, or think about transitions. Maybe you're not putting away winter gear yet, but you're getting spring gear out, because you're having those weeks like I am, where you're skiing, snowmobiling one day, and then the next you're like, cool, I'm ready for a bike ride. So let's jump into it here. Let's not overwhelm ourselves and pull everything out of that gear closet or those gear bins. If you're anything like me, everything becomes a giant mess before it gets organized. I have to literally pull everything out, and then I get overwhelmed with the clutter, and I can get maybe one section done, and then I just start putting everything back where it was. So start with one project at a time. Maybe that's like, what activity is the most approachable right now? Is that hiking for you? Then start with your hiking gear. Where are your hiking shoes or boots or pack? Start there and dig into it. This might mean maybe your backpack needs a little cleaning. Maybe you just need to check inside there and make sure you don't have any expired snacks in there, or like open packs of gummies like I usually have. And let's just give those a toss, because they've been sitting there for months. But it can be helpful too if you are starting with maybe a couple different bins, or we're just pulling stuff out of the closet, to create a few different piles. So like this is just needs to be cleaned pile, donate pile, repair pile, and that way you kind of know what you're looking at. But again, I really suggest, if you can, don't pull it all out at once. But I know not everything gets put away super organized, but that's what we're going to talk about too. We're going to try to make sure we put our winter gear away a little more organized than in the past, so that it's a little easier to make these transitions. So pick that bin, start those piles, and then, find a good place to donate your stuff to. We obviously all have some different thrift stores around, whether they're like little mom and pop thrift shops or the big shops. But I would suggest looking into, like, maybe even checking in your local gear shop and seeing if there's any local organizations that you can donate stuff to. If your stuff's in good working order, but maybe it just doesn't fit you anymore, or it, I don't know, has a tiny little like blemish on it or something like that, then there might be some organizations that are helping get people outside who maybe don't have full accessibility to new items, whether that's for underprivileged youth or adults or whatever. But I think that's a great place to start. Like I says, check with your local gear shop or type something in online and try to donate directly to an organization that helps people get outside it can just get into the right hands a little quicker that way. But I know we all don't have the time and capacity and stuff for that. So at least just getting it to any thrift shop is helpful. So looking at your repair pile too, there's a few different strategies here. Some things are easy to repair yourself, like a hole or a snag or something in a puffy jacket or even a tent or things like that. There's really easy do-it-yourself patches from No Sew Patches. I think I mentioned her in like the 5 brands you should know. Kelly is awesome. No Snow Patches are awesome. They're super easy, like peel, patch, little heat on them. And she does collaborations with so many different brands. Like she just did one with Dovetail. That's what I talked about it for, or her for. She just did another one, Alaska Salmon Sisters. Literally so many outdoor brands, and you can even get custom patches. So you better believe I have gotten a quote to see what that might look like. Earth Day is coming up, and I don't know. I want merch. Obviously, I don't have the budget for all that, but still, I was just curious what it would look like to get a Tearing It Up No Sew patch. Anyway, so yeah, do-it-yourself repairs, things like patches are out there. So there's No Sew Patches. There's also things like Gear Aid, Tenacious Tape. Literally, if you go into, again, your local gear shop, whether that's small independently owned or a bigger shop like REI, they probably have something like this. And these can work on puffy jackets, canvas, like tents and sleeping pads. Because if there's a hole in your sleeping pad, there's ways to patch those as well. You don't have to toss it. That's another audit you want to do. Test out your sleeping pad before you go camping, right? Blow it up, make sure the air is holding. If it's not, there are ways to find out if it's leaking, submerging it in water, like in the bathtub, and finding that patch, or that hole rather, and patching it. So even if you have an inkling of like, there might be something wrong with this piece of gear, put it in the repair pile. And then when you get to that pile, you can audit that pile a little more closely. I just learned about a really cool, easy zipper trick too. If your zippers are just kind of, they're not pulling smoothly, you can take a pencil. I linked a little video in the show notes, or I will, and literally just any kind of pencil. They say graphite, and obviously I think all are graphite. But anyways, I watched a few different videos, and I in fact saw like a mechanical pencil and a workshop flat graphite straight pencil, different pencils that you rub on the track of the zipper there, and that helps smooth it out. And then obviously there are things that maybe your hole is too big, or like me, you've had an aversion to patches, because things like Gear Aid and Tenacious Tape, they have straight solid color patches. No Sew, they also have solid options, but they have like really fun designs and patterns and shapes and things like that. But for me, at one point, I was very like, I don't want a patch. Like, I just want it fixed. And so I do take things to a local company here in Tahoe, Technical Equipment Cleaners, and they can patch and sew up a lot of things too. So there's probably something like that in your area. But again, the cost of that is going to probably exceed what a patch costs. So if aesthetics are that important to you, then go there. Or again, it might not be just about aesthetics, but literally a seam or something where these patches you might not feel are going to get the job done. That's a high, heavy wear seam area or something. So look into some repair places around you to get those things fixed. Or again, we don't always have the time or capacity for it. But having a repair pile is very important, because it just sustainability, right? We're about that. We're about trying to fix things. I got a tugboat on me. No. So then get your donate pile, your repair, and then just clean. Just your clean pile. Literally, does some of this stuff just need to go to the wash because you put it away and it has a little bit of a funk now? Or you just like, did I wash this before I put it away? Whatever it is, clean pile, repair pile, donate pile, and then dig into those separately from there. And obviously, sometimes there might be some trash, but like I said, there's a lot of different ways. Usually you really have to put your gear through the ringer to for it to be like absolute trash. So really look at it here. And then when we're thinking about putting gear back away, so say you have this empty bin now from this spring gear and you're ready to put some winter stuff away, how do you want to store it? I use bins because of where I live. I like to have a solid lid on there. Make sure no little critters can get in there because that's definitely happened. And that sucks for sure. So figure out, again, what kind of bin or storage you might need or want. A clear storage box could work, that we can see what's in there. I just like to label mine, which can be a little bit of a pain because then anytime you're taking something out or replacing it, you're just like rewriting on it and or forgetting, and you're like trying to group, okay, I have all my shoes or whatever, but you're like, is this particular pair of shoes or this backpack in here or something? So it depends on literally how I think OCD you are about those things. I just throw a piece of painter's tape on my bin and label it with a Sharpie and call it good, and try to just keep things pretty general unless there's something I know I look for specifically and put away specifically. Then I make sure I like call that item out. If I'm like, where the hell did I put my full face helmet? Because I didn't need a full bin for that. I don't have a whole bin, just a full face helmet. So I have that marked down on a bin of backpacks, and my Purple Smith full face helmet is on that label too. So I don't have to tear through every freaking bin to find it. And then, I mean, if you have a room, a house, a garage, there's so many different storage like things too. Storage things, sorry, you know what I mean. Gear hammocks, hanging systems. So I don't know, you can get creative and get on Pinterest, but really, again, depends on your space. Just figure out what works for you, your mind, how you find things. And again, mostly it's going to be how do you find things? Because every time I put something away where I'm like, I'm never going to forget it's here. Well, lo and behold, I definitely do. I ran into this woman once too who bought some labels that had QR codes on them. And so you can like put those notes in your phone that attach to that QR code. So that was pretty cool and an easy way to change it. I can't remember what they were or anything, but I'll try and find a link there to put it in. But again, just type in storage QR codes or something and see what happens to come up for you. There's also, for the very, very anal, apps that you can track your gear with. For this, it's like the wear and tear on them almost, or like the miles on your shoes or something, but it still gets into like crazy tracking things. So when you're putting away a pair of shoes, like say you're putting away your running shoes in the spring, and somehow you've kept track of all the miles or something. But again, I think for me personally, that comes to just like looking at the item. How is it working, fitting, all that. Let's see. Oh, also be sure to check your water bottles, because I tend to use mostly just my insulated bottles throughout the winter and whatnot, and not so much my bladders and hose bladder connections, because they just freeze in the winter. I do store them inside, but still, when you just haven't used them in a while, really give them a check. They can be cleaned out with some vinegar, baking soda, brush, a bunch of different, again, ways to do that. And Hydro Flask, I think, different companies, Camelback, they make like cleaning tablets for these items. If I see a bunch of mold, that's for sure kind of when I'm tossing things, but that's, personal preference of if how you want to clean them and get into it. But just check those items before you throw them in your pack, fill them up and go out there, and then have the nastiest tasting water coming through your tube. And for things like rain jackets and whatnot, they can delaminate, or they can, the DWR, the durable water repellent on them, can start to wear off. So there's things like Nick Wax that you can use to re-waterproof your stuff. So if you're in places like Washington, Pacific Northwest, where your spring is going to be wet, then that's a good thing to do. For me, we don't get a whole lot of rain. I'm not super worried about my rain jackets or pants or anything, but that's definitely something to take into consideration for all of you who actually have a true shoulder wet spring season. And then if you do need some upgrades, I'm going to say try to shop small and women led, or as we've mentioned, if you're donating your stuff to like a local organization, then there's also a lot of brands and companies doing like reused gear platforms. So Gear Trade is one of those that you can get on, but also the brands themselves. Like Patagonia does a worn wear program. Alpinistas has a recover. Literally, it seems like every brand these days has a program like that. So it's I may have misled you by coming back to the donation comment. You're not going to go somewhere and get a donation, but in the terms of reuse or buying gear used, then these are options to look at. There's a lot of lightly used gear on there that people gave back to the companies for whatever reason, didn't fit them, wasn't their style, just quit using it. So that's a great place to check. So you can replace your items with something that has a little bit of a shelf life and isn't a brand new item if you don't need that brand new item. So again, you are supporting the circularity and sustainability by not buying something brand new if you don't need it. So check out, like I said, if you're looking at a certain backpack, a certain brand, go to their website, see if they have one of these reused programs, because like I said, almost every brand these days seems to have something like that. Or there's the bigger platforms like Gear Trade that collects things from all sorts of different brands and resells it. Obviously, there's things like Facebook Marketplace and whatnot too. I have a little bit of apprehension to those just because, I don't know, you can't trust them, but I've also bought tons of things on Craigslist and eBay in my day, so I'm not a stranger to them. But now that there's a lot more platforms that seem to have just more systems in place to make sure that this gear is solid, then I would just trust that more. So check there first, and then now think about too what you are going to swap out for the winter, right? So a few checklist items. Again, you might not be putting it fully away yet, but when you get to that point, it could be as simple as insulated bottles for your hydration packs or bladders, whatever you want to call them. I keep my insulated bottles out year round because I love ice. It gets hot as shit. So I always have like my stainless steel Hydro Flask bottles, my Bevo bottle. And then I also have my soft flasks for throwing in my bike backpack, or my hydration pack with the hose for biking, hiking, and things like that. If you are a type of person that wears warmer gloves, insulated heavy gloves, then you might be able to lighten that up with just some lightweight windproof or sun protective gloves. Our winter hats, we might be going from beanies to trucker hats, or just a brimmed hat and a lightweight buff. I run hot, so I always have like trucker hats and lightweight buffs even throughout winter. The lightweight buffs are great because they provide sun protection, so that's great in the winter as well, getting the reflection off the snow. And just here in Tahoe, we get a lot of sun, so mostly I'm just able to put my winter hats away. I wear a beanie as long as I can, but eventually we get to the point where it's not going on even in the mornings. But I'll start in the morning with one, but I like to keep a brimmed hat around year round. But those might be switches for you. Like, okay, I can put away these warmer hats and start taking out the lighter ones. Again, highly suggest keeping a buff year round, but just those lighter weight ones. They have UV ones and like even insect protectant ones too, if you're in a really buggy area. Think about your boots. Are you at the point where you can put insulated boots away and bring out something lighter like trail runners, or just lightweight waterproof or breathable hiking shoes? I, again, I don't typically have heavily insulated boots, but I have my waterproof boots, which I will keep around for a while for sure. But I do like to hike in more of a trail runner. And these are also things that you could just be checking out for this the new season, trying something new. Like, oh, I haven't, tried a piece of gear like this out for hiking and I want to switch up my kit, then this is a great opportunity to in the spring try some new gear and see what works best for you. So we also have our checklist here that we want to make sure we're not forgetting these items as we start to roll into the warmer days. So bug spray being number one. I've heard in places that they're already starting to come out. So that's why it's like it might feel like it's not warm enough where you're at yet, but just a little bottle could be helpful if you're not on that super minimalist, lightweight, light packing route. Sunscreen, again, always something I have, and chapstick with SPF because, again, I live in the mountains where we get sun all the time. So I need this throughout the year. But for you who have a little more sun coverage, more clouds throughout the year, just remember throwing, again, a little bit of sunscreen and lip balm with SPF in your pack will be great for when the clouds do part unexpectedly as you're summiting that mountain, or just on those overcast days, right, that we always forget. And they always say that's when you can get the most sunburn, right? So just start keeping it in your pack. I think this can resonate for a lot of us right now, even me, is that lightweight rain jacket or shell because, like I said, even though it doesn't rain that much here in Tahoe, if it's like this time of year. So just keeping a lightweight shell on you to have for any unexpected little rain squalls or something, or just an extra layer too, because as you're getting into the mountains, hiking, biking, whatever, we're going up in elevation. You could just be getting into those clouds, getting into mistier weather, or it's just colder. Duh. So having a little extra layer can be very helpful. Let's see, extra socks. So I don't know. This is for, I think, if you're really going into wet, wet, wet terrain. But I keep these in the car. And an extra pair of shoes, which they might just be my Tiva slippers or something like that. But I'm not putting these in my pack and changing my socks mid hike or bike because if my socks are wet, my shoes are soaked. So I don't see a purpose there. But these are just two little things I love to keep in the car again throughout the summer, and I'm just switching to sandals after a bike ride in the middle of the summer or after a hike or something. So if it's still on that chillier side, the extra socks, putting on dry socks and dry shoes immediately after a soggy hike or bike is just a game changer, and just full on extra pair of clothes. I'm not gonna lie. Again, this is in the car. It's not on the hike with me. Occasionally, I might throw an extra like layer or something in like light long sleeve or t-shirt if I'm going to get really sweaty on the way up, and the way down I'm not going to be as sweaty, but it's going to be colder. The temperature's either changing or it was just cold to begin with. Like I want to get that soaking layer that's closest to my skin off of me. So that's something to think about too. If you are somebody who runs hot on the up and sweats a lot and you're worried about that temperature change in your body on the way down and that exertion change, then this is going to be really great for you to keep that dry layer, that shirt in your pack, and swap that at the top. I know it doesn't sound appealing if it's cold. You're like, I don't want to delayer if it's cold, but again, that sweaty, wet layer will keep you colder than just bearing it all for 1 second, ripping it off, and putting that next to skin dry layer on, and then layering back up. Obviously, I'm not telling you to do this if you're in the middle of a freaking snowstorm or something like that, but I've hiked, in 70-degree weather, sweated my ass off, got to the top, and then on the way down, as I'm just taking a leisure way down, gotten like freezing because of that. So for women, I think our struggle too, my struggle, like especially women with bigger boobs is the boob sweat. Like my sports, and I mean, this could be anyone who just sweats a lot, but I feel like it's harder for my sports bra to dry out with a bigger chest, and that's what kills me. And so that's what I'm ripping off too at the car as soon as I can after a really sweaty ride, even in the middle of summer, because again, that just is on my skin and that can cool your core down so much. So keeping, like I said, all those next to skin layers in your car for a quick change afterwards can be super helpful, which leads me into one more item that is a I wouldn't say a needed item, but a very, very helpful item is a changing towel. You see these a lot in the surfing community, and they're literally like a towel robe kind of mix. It's like a big towel that has a hole in it, and you throw it over your head. Some of them even have hoods, so it covers your whole body, and then you can change underneath. So starting in the surfing community, it's like to take your wetsuit fully off and put on those dry clothes, and vice versa. Take your clothes off, put that wetsuit on. So that I have one of them, and I wanted one so bad for like the gym, even because I just wanted to be able to get out of the shower and put it on and dry off while getting dressed. And yeah, I mean, at the gym, we're adults, you can just get naked and do it, but I just like a fucking changing towel. I love it, and it will be in my car all summer long too. For, like I said, even just from a bike ride, you're getting done, and sometimes I'm biking going straight to work, then I want to change. And again, shoulder season, like your wet, muddy butt, I want to change before I'm even sitting down in my car. So a changing towel, Nomadix, Nomadix. They have great towels. I think my towel's from Passenger. There's so many different, again, type changing towel in, and you can find one. But it is a frivolous buy, I think. But if you are like me and changing at your car often, then it can be a freaking game changer. Or if you're just a little shy in the gym locker room and don't want to bear it all, then this is great too. So yeah, a couple extra items for you to keep in your pack, and then these tips on refreshing your spring gear. So here's the checklist, summing it all up here, the Pre-Season Shakedown Checklist. You're cleaning and inspecting your gear. Also do this with your first aid items. Go through your first aid pack, see if you need to replace anything or just refill it or whatnot. And those snacks, get rid of expired snacks, get some new ones. Heather's Choice, Packaroons, love to have some of those. Update your in-pack essentials. So do you need a new bladder or water bottle or anything like that? And I don't know, start slow. Go on a short bike ride or short walk or hike or camp. I mean, test your camping gear out, I think, in the house. But a short bike ride, walk, or hike to test everything else out, just to make sure you didn't miss something. Sometimes when we're just looking at it, a visual inspection doesn't tell us everything, and then all of a sudden we get out on the trail and we're like, oh my gosh, this isn't working. So try to do something low key to get out there so you don't end up on a very long journey realizing that a critical piece of your gear is broken or missing or something. All right, guys. Hope you're ready to get after it for spring. I am hoping to still enjoy a little bit of winter, but like I said, it's like every other day here. Here's a winter day, here's a spring day. That's the season it is. Take advantage of everything right now. Whatever you're into, if you're into all of it, get after all of it as much as you can. If you're ready for the full-on switch, then more power to you. We're going to talk about some bike stuff and in future episodes, like getting your bike specifically ready. But yeah, hope that gets you stoked to get geared up and ready for spring. We hope you enjoyed this episode and would do us a huge favor, since we don't have any sponsors or anything like that, and would rate and review us on whatever platform it is you use, Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, whatever it is. And if you're listening and downloading just through the website, tearingituppodcast.com, Leave comments. We'll definitely engage back with you. And on social media right now, we're just on Instagram. Tearing It Up Podcast is the handle. Like the post, share the post, comment on the post, whatever it is you got. Show us your love so we just stay relevant and show up in the rankings at all. So again, rate and review, please. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.